The power of the angels. To avoid all incoming threats and attacks. Encounter swiftly without any sense of thought. To move and flow like water, but to strike fiercely like a raging storm. A power like this doesn't belong in the natural world. But here, a football maniac will be bestowed this great technique in order to conquer all foes in front of him. What if Yoichi Isagi had ultra instinct?
Get that paper, told that Glock, that's how we live. Yeah, my life's a game, I pray I don't get killed. They can't believe I got the guap, this shit for real. Can't accept the fact my brother gone, I wanna kill. Yeah, I can't go for that shit don't sit right. Instead of cabin to the old nigga, I know what you live like. Ain't worried about all just for these hoes and live life. I grown the drill, I'm smart enough, you gotta know how to kill.
The story truly does begin with a younger Isagi who will be given an even higher IQ and sense of self. As playing striker throughout his early football career, he was incredible. However, fate took an unexpected turn during a crucial club tournament where his team suffered a heartbreaking loss. Struggling to come to terms with his defeat, Isagi found himself questioning his role on the field. It was in that moment of introspection that a newfound determination began to take root within him. Noticing that the midfielders had more influence over the game and how it was played, he wanted that very same control. Driven by a desire to extort more influence over the game, Isagi made a bold decision to transition from striker to center defensive midfielder. This shift wasn't easy, not merely a positional change. It was a strategic move to enhance his understanding of the game, to master the art of controlling both plays in defense and attack. As Isagi embraced his new role, his natural athleticism and unwavering work ethic was shining through. With each game, he displayed a remarkable ability to read the flow of play and launch decisive counterattacks. His vision on the field became unparalleled, orchestrating the game like a maestro conducting a symphony. As he would also unlock his own form of defending, luring strikers and midfielders and then trapping them with nowhere else to go, is where Isagi had his own web imprisonment, which was of course like a spider web. His transformation did not go unnoticed either. Isagi's impact on the field was nothing short of extraordinary, and soon his name became synonymous with the excellence of Japanese football. His leadership and skill propelled his team to victory in a series of tournaments during his junior high years, cementing his status as a rising star in the country's football scene. With him growing so much in just a short amount of time, this Isagi is also able to learn how to properly use his eyes. As here I'm using Iki Nico as a very good reference. As in the Neo-Egoist League, due to being in the defensive position, he had unlocked metavision a lot quicker due to him being forced to see the field. And the same would go for Isagi, with him first unlocking his spatial awareness and then it naturally growing and evolving in an intense game to a low form of metavision. With his reputation preceding him, Isagi caught the attention of many scouts from around the globe. Offers came pouring in, but it was an opportunity in France that truly beckoned him. Eager to test his abilities on the international stage, he made the life-changing decision to embark on a new chapter in his football career. Wondering where he should go, the young prodigy was nervous, but he was also very curious. But the only reason he truly went because he knew of a younger prodigy who was very similar in age, as that had caught his attention. The transition to France was not without its own challenges, as Isagi faced fierce competition and had to adapt to this new style of play. As when arriving in France, his family would have to adjust to their new way of life, but Isagi needed to make friends while here. Luckily, there was someone here for that, running into a childish kid at tryouts for a club team who would introduce himself as Charles. With that, Isagi stated his own name, and quickly these two became close. With Charles on the wing and Isagi and CDM, the two worked great together, but it always seemed like they were missing a crucial piece to their puzzle. Months began to pass, with their team winning matches over and over, and the two noticed how intensely their competition had changed. It was almost like it was set up perfectly for their growth, as at this point, Charles was within the story going to be 13 years old, with Isagi being 14. Their coach also states that one of their best players is returning from his trip to a training facility here in France. Julian Loki is seen here, but he's only about 15, so he's not just yet known around the world. He has a big name within France, but not the world, as that was when he would become 17, when we see him in Blue Lock originally. In France, he formed an unstoppable trio alongside Charles, a winger known for his incredible passing accuracy, and Isagi, a center defensive mid who wouldn't let anything go past him. They dominated the club matches together, as their synergy and individual brilliance was setting in, and they caused electrifying performances. Isagi's defensive prowess, coupled with Charles' precise deliveries and Loki's lethal finishing, made them a force to be reckoned with in the football landscape. And as the matches unfolded, Isagi's reputation soared as one of France's best prodigies. His ability to read the game, intercept passes, and throw out opponents' attacks earned him the admiration from the fans. And with each game, he honed his skills, learning from every challenge and setback, growing into a formidable defender who could change the course of a match with a single tackle or interception. Years had passed, and the trio's bond on and off the field had deepened. Their chemistry became some stuff of legends, as a testament to their shared passion for the beautiful game of football. In the midst of their victories and triumphs, they forged a friendship that transitioned from mere teammates to becoming a cohesive unit that seemed unbeatable. However, fate had other plans for Isagi, as a call from Japan beckoned him to come back home, summoning him to join the U20 national team. And despite the bittersweet farewell, Isagi knew that this was his chance to represent his country on the international stage. Even if they were still playing in Japan, he knows this match will be broadcasted everywhere. A dream that he couldn't turn down. As he bid adieu to his friends in France, the memories that they shared, well, they were etched into his heart, fueling his determination to excel them and become even greater. He then embarked on his new journey with the U20 team, as he carried with him many lessons and experiences from France that would help him in this upcoming match. But as he was leaving, Loki and Charles told him to be ready, because if they do face each other on the world stage, they plan to win. And Isagi nods, telling him that he won't back down so easily. Isagi was later seen on a plane, as waiting for it to land, and then getting off, he was surrounded by reporters. Being in France did put him in the spotlight very often, so he was used to this, so he began smiling and answering questions before heading to the meeting point. Arriving at the facility, he had smiled when seeing the team, but mostly Itoshi Sai. Sai noting that Isagi was another member of the new Gen 11 and acknowledged him in front of the others. But Isagi then looked to Aiku. So you're the leader of the defenders here. Well, that will be changed starting today. And you can see this get under Aiku's skin and gets him riled up as he accepts the challenge, but Sai tells him to stop, especially since Aiku and many of the players wouldn't know Isagi as much, so they question why he said that. Sai then comments that if they didn't know, while in France, Isagi has only let 10 goals get by his defense in the last 2 years. They didn't believe him, but they all would see the pattern in Isagi's eyes, as it resembled that of a spider web. Don't believe him if you want to. Just know if you follow my lead, they won't score before us. Weeks do go by before we see this U20 team in action, as Jinpachi Ego would be shocked that they were able to get 2 of Japan's prodigies on one team. But it was even more startling that Shido Ryusei, or Ryusei Shido, was actually starting here. Due to being in France and working with Charles, Isagi knows how to bring out the best in Shido, who would in turn become very fond of the defender. With the U20 team being a lot different here, the match commences, with Blue Lock on their assault weaving from player to player. This gives the audience something to really enjoy. Each player then shows off their own unique skills and how they can move, but once crossing the half-field mark, it seemed that everything had changed. The U20 midfielders would force the ball into the center, where it seems that Mikage Ryo was dribbling. With one defender in front of him, he looked to send a pass to Nagi, but then felt an immense pressure on his back. He couldn't even detect the other defender until it was too late. Still, he's able to direct a pass to Yukimiya. However, Oliver Aiku locked him down, meaning he has to come up with something quick. Seeing a chance, he turns and drops the ball off to Chigiri, who runs up the field, sending it to the center with a cross. It seemed that Rin was wide open, so he volleys the shot. However, as it was soaring towards the net, it's blocked, and Isagi traps it with his vortex barrier. Bringing the ball back to the ground, he looks up, saying that if this is all the team has to offer, it's almost pathetic, and he'll tear him apart from the inside out. Having these same web-like eyes appear, we get to see the field being made into a spider web, as Isagi sends it out and rushes ahead. The ball eventually gets to Sai, who is ready to then send it to Shido, who would score. Ego comments to himself that due to there being a big three of the U20 team, this match may not go in their favor. Making it by Isagi was their main goal now, but how could they do it when his defense was set up as a constant trap? Even when trying on their next possessions of the ball, Blue Lock's 11 falls short again due to the vortex barrier block. However, this time, Isagi dribbles the ball up himself, as this shocks his opponents, who weren't expecting this, alongside his meta vision, wherein Isagi makes a play for himself to get open, fully utilizing his passing ability. Curving it with the outside of his foot, it spins towards the box where Shido misses the header on it, screaming that it was too far ahead of him. But then we pan out to realize that this was actually a pass for one person who didn't even desire to score. Damn you. Just when I thought I escaped the path of a striker, you force it upon me once again. Itoshi Sai watches the ball float towards him, as now we see both Isagi and Sai's perspective and expressions, as Isagi yells for him to reawaken, thinking back to the many moments in Spain and how they led him to becoming a midfielder, and leaving that striker, the position of a striker, leaving that behind. Damn you, Isagi. He then shoots, scoring the ball, with his own flow state appearing. As since it was something out of his calculations, the matrix or number state isn't what we see here. Instead, he has his own new flow that reads error around his body. Walking back over to Isagi, Sai comments how this isn't what he expected from him at all, as Isagi states that since he was raised in France, where life seems to be unpredictable, that's how he decides to play football. With the first half continuing on, we will see the dominance of Isagi and Sai as a striker-midfielder duo. It was strange for someone like Rin to see his brother back playing that position, and it wasn't himself that got him to do it. It was some wannabe midfielder from France. The first half does end in the U20 team being up 3-0, as even Oliver Aiku was able to advance his own defense due to Isagi. Stepping back out in the half, the commentators note that the U20 team has a new lineup, with Isagi now playing the center mid position and Itoshi Sai at the striker position alongside Ryusei Shido, making this match more interesting. Isagi tells the strikers from Blue Lock to be ready, as now he can really create his own ideal striker. When the game continues, it's clear that Blue Lock really just can't keep up with the duo of Itoshi Sai and Yoichi Isagi. Isagi throughout the rest of this match amps up his defense, locking down the strikers, reading their passes, enforcing second chance balls, and even bodying some of them off the ball. Over and over, Isagi showed off how incredible he was on that side of the ball, but on the other end, Itoshi Sai was masterful, scoring from every chance he got, whether it was a volley, creating his own shot, or even a set play. It seemed that he was reborn as a striker within this match, causing him to not even want to return to Spain once all of it was said and done, meaning that he remained in Japan, and so did Isagi, not going back to France. And then, it seemed like a new opportunity would arise after the defeat of Blue Lock. With the success seeming to be on the horizon, that each player had shined within the U20 team, received a contract to play in Japan's new league. And since we wouldn't have the Neo Egoist League, instead, we'll have the JML, or Japanese Master League. with one of the first teams using their available resources to get both Itoshi Sai and Isagi, as well as Aiku, as these were the three players that they wanted to base their team around. And this was easier for them to do since Aiku was taking a smaller contract in order to play with them. There would be supporting players from Blue Lock and the U20 squad, but mainly players we hadn't seen much of at all, so there was no point to mention them. Their team was based in Tokyo, as we see their colors are gold and black. Each team, or each player, steps onto the field to see their coach greeting them, and their assistant coach. He was a taller, older man who emanated an intense aura. Well, hello. I'll be your coach starting today. Now, if you're suited up and stretched, follow me. They begin walking behind their coach with one of their players asking if the older man could even coach them. This is when he turned back to them with the flow eyes and walked over to the ball, smashing it into the net right by the hologram keeper. I suggest you keep your eyes open and your mouth shut, because from this point on, you've entered my domain. Itoshi Sai asked what his name was, and the assistant coach turned around, introducing him as Kagawa Shinji, or Coach K for short. Under the watchful eye of Coach K, Isagi, Sai, and Aiku embarked on a journey of self-discovery and transformation in the world of football. The training morphed them into different players, with having relentless challenges and unforgiving trials, pushing the trio beyond their physical and mental boundaries that they never knew existed. Isagi found himself confronted with a demanding regimen that demanded not just skill, but unwavering focus and tactical acquisition. Coach K's piercing gaze seemed to dissect Isagi's every move, driving him to refine his technique and elevate his game to new heights. The pressure mounted as Isagi's battled self-doubt and fear of failure, and lack of confidence due to wanting to be even better than Charles and Loki. But with each grueling session, a steely resolve took hold within him, shaping him into a player of unwavering composure and creativity. Sai, however, was one to face a different kind of challenge under Coach K's tutelage. The coach's meticulous approach demanded nothing short of perfection from Sai, pushing him to hone his skills in shooting accuracy and strategic positioning to a surgical precision. With the weight of expectations boring down heavily on Sai, this was a testament to his mental fortitude and resolve. Yet, with each strike of the ball and each goal that he had scored, Sai discovered a newfound confidence and resilience that set him apart as a striker of unmatched prowess. Aiku, well, he had to confront his own demons on the training ground. Coach K's rigorous drills and tactical insights pushed Aiku to his limits, demanding not just his physical prowess, but also his mental acuity and strategic foresight. Aiku grappled with moments of self-doubt and exhaustion, but with each bone-jarring tackle and defensive masterclass performance, he had unearthed a reservoir of inner strength and determination that made him the indomitable defender of the back line. As days turned into weeks, Isagi, Sai, and Aiku found themselves forged as new players because of Coach K's training. Each one of them emerged as a new ideal version of themselves, bearing the marks and sacrifice of growth. Coach K was also a former great himself, and he seemed to have unlocked the full potential of these three players. As now, this hellish training had birthed a trinity of football excellence, and as a testament to their transformative power and dedication, it was soon time for their first match. And with their first match in the JML, they played at home against one of the smaller teams that was able to get a striker in Kunigami, as he was still forced to enter the wildcard program, but his talents were discovered by this team that would take him on as a bet. However, when matching up against his opponents, nothing could have prepared him for the slaughter that he was going to receive, not even the wildcard program. In every aspect of Tokyo's team, it had outclassed his own. Their offense and defense were in perfect sync. Isagi was the glue holding them together. And speaking of Kunigami, when he got his opportunities to score, it would be shown that he couldn't even get past Isagi. These two were seen battling it out in the middle of the first half as Kunigami dribbled, using his body to block off Isagi. However, the protagonist of our story was a defender from France, as we soon saw him using these experiences to his advantage, blitzing by him, and he runs him right into Oliver Aiku, who had smiled. Nice one, Isagi. The center defender slides in, stealing the ball and running ahead, as the two would switch positions. With Isagi, it's seen that these two are actually so crucial for this team. Well then, Mr. Prodigy, show me what you can do. Aiku crosses it ahead to Itoshi Sai, who is running with his Metavision active. Are you two trying to get us in trouble? Coach already said not to switch positions in these early season games. Sai then volleys it with his new dynamic wing shot. Looking back at the two, Isagi shrugged, but then looked to his coach, who wasn't smiling at all. Coach K actually seemed furious at Aiku and Isagi, making it through this match without any difficulty. When they have their next team meeting, Isagi and Aiku are called out for their actions, as Coach K didn't care if you were one of his best players. If you don't know how to play how he wants you to, you're going to get punished. And as their punishment, they weren't starting in their next match, which was actually important, as it would force Itoshi Sai to take over, entering the flow state, winning the match with 3 solo goals and making headlines in Japan. Throughout the season, Tokyo faces formidable opponents, each testing the team's resolve and pushing them to their limits. From nail-biting encounters with fierce rivals to intense showdowns against the other top-tier clubs, every match becomes a testament to Tokyo's unwavering spirit and unyielding determination. As the season progressed, the fruits of their rigorous training become evident. As Aiku's speed becomes more explosive, Sai's finishing becomes more clinical, and Isagi's playmaking reaches new heights. As under Coach K's mentorship, the trio not only hones their physical skills, but also levels up mentally, developing resilience, teamwork, and a winning mentality, their own ego. Despite all the challenges they would face, Tokyo had remained undefeated throughout their season, and it becomes a feat that cements their legacy in JML history. Their journey isn't just about winning matches, but growing as individuals, learning from their setbacks and mistakes, and continuing to transcend the game, leading them to, of course, the world stage, which was waiting for them. Each one of our 3 players are called up to play for Japan's team, as well as a couple others we were used to being seen. And the first match pits Japan against England, a team brimming with young players who boasted excellent physiques and a physical type of play. The game begins, and Japan wasted no time as Isagi gets the ball up to his main striker. Sai, with his lightning speed and precision finishing, dominates the field, leaving his defenders in a flurry of movements. Getting by those in his way, it seemed he was going for the shot, but he was sandwiched by 2 players as each one of them seemed to block both of his shooting techniques, causing him to awaken his unique error code state, where he stops and pivots around both of them. Now, he uses both of their bodies as a smokescreen to cover himself and score the first goal. England, on the very next play, would of course try their hardest to use their physical stats to push through Japan's players. However, Isagi, the anchor in Japan's midfield, orchestrates the game with tactical precision, stopping their attacks and leading them on counters on several occasions, as together they lead Japan to a resounding victory, showcasing their individual talents and teamwork. This victory put Japan on the world's radar as possibly being a contender for the World Cup this year due to their dominance on an opposing field. But soon, they had to prepare for another great challenge, as in the second round, they faced Canada, as Japan found themselves struggling to break through a formidable defense and a stellar goalkeeper. Sai's usual flair is met with a sturdy resistance, forcing him to dig deep and find a new way to unlock the defense. Isagi, ever the strategist, adapts his play to support his team's attacks, and he has to maintain a solid defensive line. And with the defending being so tough, it forces Isagi and Sai to come up with a new super play. A chemical reaction between the two gets them their first goal, as it was a no-look pass into a bicycle kick from the duo, causing each of them to find something new within themselves, as Isagi didn't always need to rely on his eyes to guide his play. Sometimes it was fine for his instincts to take over. And as for Sai, he realized it was okay for him to do things that weren't normal. And with this realization, the fate of the entire match had been changed. It's a hard-fought battle, but Japan eventually prevails, with Sai scoring crucial goals. And now it seems he was going to face his own personal challenge, as Japan advances to the semifinals to play against Spain. As Sai would encounter the striker, who seemed to mirror his style, stealing his original ego. This unexpected turn rattles Sai, pushing him to confront his inner doubts and fears, wondering if he could even defeat him on this grand stage. He wasn't as confident as he usually was. Within the match, it seemed to be showing as well, as the striker was able to counter and stop him before his attacks could even begin, causing Isagi to be the one to score the first goal. But this comes back, as the striker would hit his own curved shot. Isagi was then forced to stay back and play a little bit more defense, as it seemed it would come down to these two players, the strikers of the team. In a match filled with intense drama and tension, Sai awakens to a new level of play, showcasing a newfound sense of self, with his flow state evolving from the error code to now a completed flow that doesn't have any discrepancies. His stellar performance propels Japan into victory, with Sai's goals proving to be the difference maker in this match. The final showdown would see France against Isagi's team, as Isagi faces similar foes in Loki, Charles, and even Choppy, in a battle of wits and skill, as Loki begins to go solo, blitzing Japan with his speed and taking a hold of this game by scoring in the first couple of minutes. He tells Isagi that if he wants to beat him here, he'll have to shut down his speed and stop Charles. Isagi then has to regain his composure, telling Sai that they just need to watch out for Charles, as his main goal is to get Loki the ball. Sai nods, resetting the game, and Japan goes into their own attack formation, with the ball going towards Isagi. In a pivotal moment, Charles was right there to stop him. "You're still the same, Isagi, always relying on others to create your own ideal play." This is when Isagi smiles. "Seems we're both the same, as you try to prey on the weak and find their weak spots even when they're not looking at you." Isagi then lets the ball go right by him, as this shocks Charles, as we then see Oliver Aiku rushing ahead and finding Itoshi Sai, who scores the goal to tie the game. This year's U20 World Cup was ramping up to be more exciting than any other match in the last decade. These two teams to continue to go back and forth throughout the match, with Isagi and Charles actually having a hard time overcoming each other's abilities respectively. Each one of them seemed to have a different advantage over the other, but the midfielder would be the deciding factor. In a climactic moment, with the score being tied and the clock ticking down, Isagi finds himself in a rare position, poised to take a shot on goal. However, Charles and Choppy were there, in his way, not allowing him to shoot, as there was no real time for him to get a good hit on the ball. Drawing upon a shooting technique taught to him by Coach K, Isagi unleashes a burst shot with no charge time, catching the French goalkeeper off guard as the ball soars into the back of the net, sealing Japan's victory in the World Cup. As in the final moment of pure football brilliance and triumph, the final whistle would go off. Isagi then stood, not realizing what he had just did in this moment. This was something extraordinary. Flashing back to when the technique was taught to him, we see Coach K telling him that this is the shot that made him so great. As we go back in the present to see Coach K in the hallway, smiling. Hearing footsteps, he turned to see a man pushing up his glasses. "Jinpachi Ego, it's been some time since I've seen you, hasn't it?" "Yes, it has. Looks like you taught him that freak shot." Coach K laughs, and Ego begins to walk away. "Don't think I'm leaving Japan's football just yet. I still have a lot of work left to do." Coach K would smile, as we could only wonder the past of these two Japanese players. But that'll be for another time. This is the end of our story. And if you like it and wish to see more, subscribe to my channel, as I'm Zero, and I'll catch you all on the next one.